Hey Mixers, welcome back to another college football video. We did cash that nice Sam Levitt ladder, so that was very exciting for us. And I do have, a bunch of game bets for you this week. Not so many player props. A lot of them aren't out. Plus, I don't like a lot of the matchups. But let's jump in and start talking about it. First, we're going to give away some cash because we did have a cash winner from the last college football video last week. All right, so let's go ahead and spin this wheel. There were only two of you, but I put you on here 3 times each. Just to give the wheel more options to choose from. And it looks like we have Rex Houston coming back from that narrow loss the other day on our WNBA video. His comment was hashtag in the mix. I'm rolling with Sam Levitt and TCU plus 3.5. And that is what cashed. All right, so jumping into the recap here. I didn't give you a ton of player props. I gave you some. So Sam Levitt over 210.5 passing yards. We did take a ladder. I'll show you that ladder in a minute. He had 278. Blake Shapen over 255.5 passing yards. He only had 180. We also took Mississippi State on the money line outright to win for plus 245, and they could have won that game. So that was a little bit frustrating. LJ Martin over 23.5 longest rush. He only had 16, so he did not get there this time. He didn't cash his rushing yards line either. The quarterback did, but the running back did not. We absolutely will be going right back to that. Maybe not every single week, but we're going to have to look at him a lot because he clearly has that explosiveness to bust those long ones off against teams that are going to allow it. TCU plus 3.5 at Arizona State. The score was 24-27, so we won on the hook with that bet. And then we lost our money line parlay thanks to Kansas losing to Cincinnati at home. This was a shootout. It was actually a really fun game to watch. I did end up betting on the quarterback for Cincinnati, Sorsby, over his passing yards line. And I should have laddered him because he completely cleared his passing yards line. And I didn't ladder him, but I did cash that bet. We did not cash the parlay, unfortunately. And I don't have a parlay for you this week because all of the favorites that I like are so heavy that I can't get the juice. I just can't get the juice to something I'm willing to take. We also took Syracuse on the money line to win outright, and they got embarrassed 28-3, something ridiculous. So that was a bad call for us. They did switch quarterbacks, and the other quarterback did seem to do pretty good, though, even though they lost. All right, the leans here all lost, so not a good day for the leans. Garrett Nussmeier at LSU really struggled. LSU in general just struggled. So Aaron Anderson also did not go over. And then we just talked about how Blake Shapen struggled. So his number one wide receiver, Brendan Thompson, also did not go over. Our ladder on Sam Levitt, we cashed 2 of the legs plus the regular line plus, 1 leg down. And so we ended up making probably a little bit more than 3 units on that ladder. So that was fantastic. And then the players to watch, 4 out of the 6 that I gave you did go over their lines. I did not end up going in on any of these players. I did. I did take Chase Roberts on a lowered line, and that lowered line did hit. So that's all I did on the players to watch. So this week, here are the moneyline favorites who I like. I like BYU versus West Virginia. I like Arizona versus Oklahoma State. I like Michigan hosting Wisconsin. These are all home teams. SMU hosting Syracuse, TCU hosting Colorado, Nebraska hosting Michigan State, and Texas Tech. This is the only away game at Houston. And then I do like Texas at Florida and Baylor hosting K-State, but I don't love them. And those are the ones you could put into a parlay to get some plus money out of them. But I did not end up doing that. There's still time. Maybe I will. But as of now, I have not put together a moneyline parlay for college football this week. All right, so let's jump into the game bets that I did make. Colorado alt team total under 24.5. I don't know what the team total was, but I took it up to 24.5. I think it might have been 21.5, and then I took under and put that in a parlay. So I'll show you what I did on the last screen. But they had 31 points and 37 points in their 2 wins, but they had 21 or less in their losses. Now, and they've all played mostly at home. They've played 4 games at home and only 1 game on the road. Now they're going on the road to face TCU, one of the best teams in the Big 12. And TCU is only they have never allowed more than 24 points to any team this year. So if Colorado goes over 24, they'll be the first team this year to go over against TCU there. Also, TCU has played better teams like ASU and SMU, both better teams than Colorado. So, yeah, Oklahoma State alt team total under 21.5. So this is what I paired with that Colorado State number. They scored 27 twice against bad defensive teams. So they won one of those games and then they lost to Baylor. But Baylor's not a good defensive team. They should have been able to score plenty of points. They only scored 3 against the only good team that they've played. So now they're playing Arizona, who has a pretty good defense. I wouldn't say they're like the best of the best or anything like that, but they have not allowed more than 17 in games that they won. So in games that Arizona won, they have not allowed their opponent to score more than 17 points. Oklahoma State is favored to lose this game, and so I do think 21.5 is a pretty safe number to go under on them when Arizona is allowing 17 or less. Cincinnati versus Ohio State. This one, I just took the alt team total under 24.5 for plus money. So this team total was at 26.5, and I lowered it down to 24.5 and then took the under to get some plus money out of it. So they are a scrappy team for sure, Cincinnati, but they only had 17 in the only decent defense that they faced, which was Nebraska. Now they're facing, like probably what I would say like is a top 3 or 4 defense in the Big 12 in Iowa State, and they're an undefeated team. I don't think they should even be the underdogs. Iowa State is the underdog in this matchup, probably just because they're the road team, and I do not agree with that. So we're putting a few more bets on this game, by the way. Iowa State right here, plus 7.5 in a teaser. So here's the Iowa State schedule. Sorry, they've won 5 games in a row. Their only challenging matchup was the one against Iowa, where they, it's a rival, so they play every year, and it's always a low-scoring game. They have a really good defense. This game against Kansas State in Week 0, that one looks like it was close, but it wasn't. Iowa State had that game well in hand, and Avery Johnson was throwing like a madman to try to stay in the game, which is probably what Sorsby will be doing in this game. So it'll probably be a pretty similar game. So the spreads against good teams have been 3-3 and 25. Spreads against bad teams have been 3-48 and 8. Iowa State I expect them to win this game outright, but I will take them plus 7.5 if they're going to give it to me. So I put that in a parlay with 2 money lines. So you'll see that on the end screen. Texas money line in that parlay that I was just talking about. So Texas is playing in Florida, playing the Gators. And Texas lost to the only good team that they played this year, which was Ohio State. But they might be the best team in college football. So there's that. But then they just played some, cupcake teams. So this will be their next, tough challenge, basically. And the Gators, even though they haven't been playing very well, they do have a decent defense. The Gators, on the other hand, they have not beat a good team. They've lost to LSU and Miami pretty badly, I might add. I mean, those were not pretty losses. And then they also just lost to South Florida as well, which they probably should have won that one. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I do expect it to be a lower scoring game, so we're not going in on a lot of player props for this one. Well, any. I'm not going in on any player props for this one. I'm also not, betting under on the total, but I think you could. I think that would be a good bet. I'll just take Texas on the money line to win the game, get the win, and put that in a parlay. So the third leg of that parlay will be TCU in as the money line for that parlay. So TCU is 3-1. They have beaten a good team, which was SMU, and they lost to a good team, which is a division rival, Arizona State, that won the division last year. So Colorado, on the other hand, they've lost to average teams. They also lost to Georgia Tech, a good team. But other than that, they lost to Houston and BYU, which we're not really sure how good those teams are yet. BYU for sure. We need to see more, I think. And then and now they're going on the road. They've played 4 games at home. Now they're going on the road. I expect them to easily lose this game against TCU. And we took their alternate team total under as well as this money line play. All right, player props. I only have 2 for you today, this week so far. Tommy Castellanos, who has been playing amazing, over 183.5 passing yards. He's the quarterback for the FSU Seminoles. Now, he's cleared this line in 3 games that they kind of won. I wouldn't, like 2 of the games he won easily, and then the other game went to overtime. They lost, but it was a high-scoring game. Now, Tommy Castellanos is like a run-first quarterback, so he runs a lot. And Miami is not allowing quarterbacks to run against them. So like DJ Lagway, who is also kind of a running quarterback, just had like -8 yards against them. So yeah, I don't think that Miami's going to let Tommy Castellanos run. And maybe that just shuts down the entire FSU offense. Or maybe just Tommy Castellanos throws more and is able to easily clear this very low line. So yeah, I really like this one here. I want to take a chance on it. And then the other one I like is Rocco Becht. Now this is an inflated line. Usually you're going to see his line right around 225. So we're maybe getting like a 10-yard tax here on this one. But they're going up against Cincinnati, who's like a really soft team. So, they just had a big shootout with Kansas. And, so Rocco Becht should easily clear this line. The only reason that I wouldn't see him clearing this line is if they are winning by way too much, they have the game well in hand, and they're just running the ball with their running backs. So that's what they did against Kansas State in week 0. But he has been over this in 3 of 5 games since then. Well, that includes that game. And then the only other miss besides that week 0 game was the game where he played against their rivals, Iowa, in a low-scoring defensive, ugly game. So in any game that has been at all like normal, he's gone over this line. And since he is a really soft matchup, so I think he could go way over this line. The only reason why I wouldn't necessarily ladder him is because if they're winning by a lot, like I said, then they will just run the ball. So we are also looking at their running back, Carson Hansen, over 65.5 rushing yards. He is splitting. It's like a split backfield. So I don't know, from any given week, we don't know how many carries he's going to have. So he might have more of the carries or he might have less, or it might be pretty even. And there really hasn't been a ton of consistency on that so far this year. But if he gets 10 to 12 carries here, I think he goes over this line with just that amount, because I think he could bust off like a 25-yard run at least. So yeah, he's over 50% in competitive games since he has given up 90 plus to good teams on the ground to like the number 1 running back. So and I think it was 90 in one game and then over 100 in another game. So yeah, I like the spot for Carson Hansen. The only reason it's a lean is because he is splitting carries. So I just don't know if he's going to be getting them or not. And then our other lean is Antonio Williams over 60.5 receiving yards. He is the X receiver WR1 for Clemson. They're playing at UNC. He came back for the last game against Syracuse, which they lost. And Clemson has really been struggling hard. I think everybody knows that. But part of that reason is because Antonio Williams has not been on the field. So, I do think that helps a lot. And so getting him back, that was his first game back. This is his second game back. I think it's a prime spot for him to bounce back. And in that game against Syracuse, there was a like a wide receiver that went over like 100 yards. It just wasn't Antonio Williams. So I think now, in his second game back against UNC, in a spot where Dwyer had over 100 for LSU in week 1, I think Klubnik can get the ball to his number 1 guy and that he clears this line. So I want to take a shot on this guy too. All right, here is the best bet summary, and then we'll talk about some players to watch that don't have lines yet. So the alt team total under parlay, plus 121 for Oklahoma State to score 21 or less, and then Colorado to score 24 or less against TCU. Both of those are road teams as well, like they're going on the road to try to play these good teams that are way better than them. Cincinnati versus Iowa State. I like the alt team total under of 24.5 for some plus money. I do think they're scrappy and they could easily go over this, but that's why we're getting plus money, so it is a risk. And then our 2, player props, Tommy Castellanos and Rocco Becht. So since I only have the 2 regular line best bets for this one, I will just let anyone who comments anything on this video get in the mix for the cash giveaway. So just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm ignoring some players that you think I should look at or some teams, and I will definitely take a look at it. And let's talk about a couple of players that don't have lines up yet. So, here are the 2 leans, and then the 2 players to keep your eye on is Justice Haynes for his longest rush for Michigan. They haven't put his line up yet. And then TJ Harden, SMU running back, over his rushing yards when they put that line up. We also are always going to check out LJ Martin for BYU. Once his longest rush comes up, it hasn't yet, but his rushing yards are up. Just his longest rush isn't up yet. And then one other thing I want to look at is Nebraska. So I'm always wanting to look at Dylan Raiola for his passing yards. I just think it's a little bit high, but I want to take another look at it. So that's another thing you could do. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, like usual, guys. And thank you for supporting my channel.